In a small town in England, a woman stood in a white dress holding a bouquet and said, "I do," to a tree. Not a metaphor, not a joke for the cameras. She legally changed her last name afterward. She calls herself married, and 3 years later, she told reporters she and her husband were still going strong, celebrating their 3rd Christmas together. You'd think that's the strangest part of this story. It's not even close. Because thousands of miles away, in India, there's a completely different reason women have been marrying trees for centuries, and it has nothing to do with romance. It involves astrology, fear of death, and a ritual so widespread that matchmaking websites have an entire checkbox for it. And somewhere between those two stories is a third one. 70 women, on the same day, in matching white dresses, marrying trees in front of bulldozers. So which version is real? All three. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why people keep doing this, and what it actually says about us, not the trees. Let's start with the one that sounds the most like a love story, because it's the one people argue about most. Her name is Kate Cunningham, British, a mother of 2. In 2018, she stood under a beech tree in a forest and married it. Full ceremony, vows, a small group of witnesses. Afterward, she legally took the name Elder. Years later, when reporters checked back in, she said the relationship hadn't faded. Same tree, same devotion. 3rd Christmas together. Here's where it gets interesting. She's not alone, and she's not even the most extreme case. There's another woman, Emma McCabe, who's spoken publicly about being in a committed relationship with a tree she named Tim. She's described real emotional attachment, closeness she says she never felt with the men she dated before. She said she wants to marry him. Now, your instinct is probably to laugh, or to assume this is a stunt for attention. Maybe it is, for some of them. But sit with this for a second. Humans have always formed bonds with things that can't talk back. We name our cars. We talk to photographs of dead relatives. We cry at the end of movies about robots. The line between relationship and performance of a relationship is blurrier than we like to admit. And a tree, unlike a person, never lies to you, never leaves, and never changes its mind. That's one version of marrying a tree. Pure emotional attachment, real or performed. But that's not the version with the longest history, not even close. Travel to India, and tree marriage isn't a quirky individual choice. It's an entire cultural institution with a name, Kumbh Viva, or sometimes Kadali Viva, and the reason behind it is almost the opposite of romantic. It's about fear. In Vedic astrology, there's a concept called Mangal Dosha, sometimes called being a Manglik. It depends on where the planet Mars sits in your birth chart. If Mars lands in certain positions, the 1st, 2nd, 4th, 7th, 8th, or 12th house, tradition holds that you carry a kind of cosmic curse. Marry a non-Manglik person, and according to the belief, your spouse could suffer misfortune, illness, even early death. So what do you do if you're a Manglik and you want to get married safely? You marry a tree first, usually a banana tree or a peepal, also called a sacred fig. The ceremony mirrors a real wedding almost exactly. Sindoor powder applied like it would be on a human bride. Turmeric, flowers, offerings placed at the base of the trunk, vows exchanged. The idea is that all the bad cosmic energy transfers onto the tree instead of the future husband or wife. Once the ritual is done, the tree is sometimes cut down, symbolically absorbing the misfortune and taking it with it. In some versions, an earthen pot is used instead, and the pot gets smashed afterward, like breaking the curse itself. Here's the detail that should stop you. This isn't some obscure village practice from decades ago. Matrimonial websites in India, the equivalent of online dating platforms, but for arranged marriage, include a mandatory field asking whether a person is Manglik. It affects who you're matched with. It affects family negotiations. It has shaped real engagements, real anxieties, real Bollywood gossip. There were even persistent rumors that a famous Indian actress secretly married trees before her real wedding in 2007, rumors she later denied as nonsense. And both men and women can be Mangliks. The ritual isn't reserved for brides. Now pause and notice the contrast we've built so far. In England, marrying a tree is framed as an act of love. In India, marrying a tree is an act of protection, almost the opposite emotional register, same physical act. So what happens when you combine both? when marrying a tree becomes neither love nor fear, but a weapon. That's where the third story comes in, and it might be the most quietly radical one. In Bristol, England, developers had plans to build over 160 apartments on one of the last green spaces along the city's harbor side. A group of local women decided that conventional protest, petitions, planning objections, angry letters, wasn't going to cut it. So they got married, 70 of them, on the same day, each to a different tree on the site. White dresses, bouquets, vows. One organizer told the BBC that getting married to a tree was, in her words, an absolute privilege, that it wasn't sentimental theater, it was a deliberate statement. Trees are partners for life, and marriage is supposed to mean something permanent. This wasn't naive. The organizers said openly that they were inspired by something much older and far more serious, the Chipko movement, which began in India in the 1970s. In that movement, villagers, many of them women, physically wrapped their arms around trees to block loggers from cutting them down. Chipko literally means to stick, or to embrace. No weddings, no costumes, just bodies between blades and bark. It worked. It became one of the most influential grassroots environmental movements in modern history, and it's still studied today as a model for nonviolent resistance. So the Bristol wedding wasn't a copy of a wedding, it was a copy of a protest, dressed up as a wedding, to get media attention a protest alone never would have gotten. And it worked. The story went global, exactly the way this video is talking about it right now. Suddenly, marrying a tree isn't one phenomenon. It's at least 3 different human behaviors wearing the same costume: romantic attachment, spiritual self-protection, and political theater. There's a fourth case that ties it all together, and it's maybe the most American version of the story. In a neighborhood park, a 100-year-old tree was scheduled to be cut down. A 60-year-old resident named Karen Cooper didn't write a strongly worded email. She organized a wedding. She put on a dress, stood in front of the tree at a community event, and married it, specifically to draw attention and try to save it from removal. Asked about it afterward, she said something that might be the most honest line in this entire story. She was having fun with something very serious. That sentence is doing a lot of work. It's not a contradiction. It's the entire strategy. Absurdity gets you the headline. The seriousness is what you smuggle in underneath it. That's worth remembering, because it's the same mechanic behind every viral marrying a tree story you've ever scrolled past. The internet doesn't share local woman opposes construction permit. It shares 70 women marry trees in protest. One of those gets ignored. The other gets you here, watching this. So here's the question worth sitting with. Why trees, specifically? Why not rocks, or rivers, or houses? Because a tree is the rare thing that behaves almost like a person without being one. It's rooted in one place, like commitment. It grows and ages, like a relationship does. It can outlive you, like a vow is supposed to outlast you. And this is the detail that does the heaviest lifting psychologically. Cutting one down feels like a death, not a demolition. You don't demolish a tree, you lose it. That's exactly why the ritual works in Vedic astrology, why it works as protest art in Bristol, why it works as personal devotion for Kate Cunningham, and why it worked for a 60-year-old woman trying to save a century-old oak from a chainsaw. Different intentions, same psychological lever. Make the symbolic feel literal enough that people can't look away. Whether you find any of this moving, ridiculous, or both at once, and honestly, it can be both. The pattern underneath all 4 stories is the same. Humans will use marriage, the most serious ritual we have, to make something abstract feel undeniable. Fear of an astrological curse, love for something that can't reject you, outrage over a bulldozer. All of it gets funneled through the same 6 words. I now pronounce you, and this tree. And maybe that's the real twist nobody mentions in the headlines. The tree never asked for any of it. Every single ceremony, religious, romantic, political, was never really about the tree at all. It was about what the people standing next to it needed to believe.